Hi, my name is Jack Williams, and I'm the Director of Portfolio Marketing for Hexagon Safety, Infrastructure, and Geospatial Division. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today for what promises to be an enlightening discussion. In 2022, 13 graduates from Texas A&M University Bush School of Government and Public Service collaborated with Hexagon Safety, Infrastructure, and Geospatial Division to complete their Graduate Capstone Research Project, exploring daily information sharing and interagency interoperability in public safety. In this project, which was titled Local Collaboration in Day-to-Day Incident Response within the Homeland Security Enterprise, the students focused on three main areas: policies and political barriers, technological solutions and shortcomings, and organizational and professional cultures. And today I'm very happy to welcome Dr. Danny Davis, who supervised this project at Texas A&M, to talk about some of the research findings. Dr. Davis, welcome, and let's get right to it.
Howdy, glad to be here.
All right. So first, for our audience, Dr. Davis, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then also a little bit about the Bush School of Government and Public Service, and maybe tease and introduce the capstone program and project. So a little bit about you and the project and the Bush School of Government and Public Service.
All right, sir. Well, I'm a graduate of A&M twice. I long time ago I got my bachelor's here in history, and then after getting a career in the Army, 20 years in the Army as infantryman, I went into public education, and I ran a junior ROTC program in San Antonio, Texas, in a high school. I don't know, about 6 years, I guess. Then I got back into the national defense / Homeland Security world, working for the Army as a consultant. And during that time, I was able to finish a doctorate here at A&M in education. So that's how I've got to where I am now, here with the Bush School. Bush School, as you said, administration and policy. That's what we do here. Actually, this is the 25th year we're celebrating of the formation of the Bush School, and we've got various and sundry events going on. But we got 3 departments now. We have the Public Service and Administration Department, of which I'm a part. We have the International Affairs, and just added to us this past year is Political Science, which is a long-established department that had been in another part of the A&M University. So that's kind of where we are. I guess the other thing here at the Bush School, we try to start with law and policy in all of our classes. And that's kind of the foundation upon which we build and start to talk about operations, administration, and so on.
Well, excellent. So with regards to, and by the way, thank you for your service, Dr. Davis. It's a very good overview of the Bush School of Business or public policy and government. I like what you said. It's really a focus on policy and law, which I think ties in with this capstone project that we collaborated with you on and your team, where we talked about collaboration and just some of the obstacles and challenges associated with interoperability in the Homeland Security enterprise. So can you share an overview in your words about the project, about the methodology that was taken in this particular effort?
Well, I can't thank enough Bill Campbell and Scott Fisher, 2 graduates of the Bush School of our executive program here, who I went to them and said, hey, each year, professors like me we're in search of a client that we can do a project for. And the selling point I use is, hey, is there something that you have that you would like to, that you need research that you don't have the time or the assets to look into? And that's how I like to fill that void with our graduate students. a capstone project it's a research project, and the real bottom line, the students they do this instead of an individual thesis here at the Bush School. This is their capstone project before they graduate. But they have to work in it with a team, and they have to work with a real world customer such as Hexagon. So I'm very thankful to Hexagon for giving us this opportunity. When the students first started out, excuse me, they started looking at government documents. We call it a literature review. So they looked at government documents, of course, National Response Framework, National Incident Management System, all the strategies and the policy documents, the doctrine that the federal government puts out that give guidance to emergency management. So that's where they began. And then after looking at the government documents, then they go out into the literature, all things that are written about emergency management or Homeland Security, and they begin to build a bibliography from all the documents that they've looked at, and from that point, then again, Bill and Scott provided us customers of Hexagon that my students went out and interviewed various and sundry people, police, first responders, private sector suppliers of various technology or whatever to Hexagon, or that Hexagon services, I should add. So that's the methodology that went into it. We call it a mixed methods. It's quantitative and it's qualitative. And also we look at case studies. So we look at specific agencies or departments around the country that worked a specific operation, and we build upon that literature review with those case studies. That's a kind of the methodology that went into this project.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dr. Davis, for that. I'm curious. I actually, did an MBA, and we did a similar type of thing where you did a capstone project, and we worked with a local nonprofit. In this case, this group of 13 students worked with Hexagon to really dig into this, the challenges involved with collaboration. Can you give me in the audience a little bit of because I found this interesting, a little bit of a taste or a flavor for what the background of the students in the program are? Just, they're, from what I gathered, they're pretty experienced in quite a diverse array of local, federal, and state government. Who are the folks that are doing this research in this capstone?
Well, here at the Bush School, we have in our department, PS Public Service Administration, we have two programs. We have the resident program, which is a 148-hour program, which is the majority of those students are fresh out of their undergrad studies and are continuing a master's. Not everybody, but majority of them. The group that did this study is from our executive program. And for that executive program, we require 5 years of experience in the workplace. And for those 5 years, we give 3 course credits toward the degree. So it's a 139-hour degree. Same requirements, same everything as the resident program, but it's an online program. There's students that are required to be here 2 summers for 2 week-long sessions over 2 summers. And that's their resident requirement. Everything else is done online. I think to answer the second part of your question, the students that did this particular thing, I'm going to look at their names. That'll help me remember who did what to who. We had a fire lieutenant. We had 3 or 4 emergency managers, people that worked in emergency management offices at various and sundry jurisdictions, around the country, many of them in Texas. I don't know. I'd say almost at least a third of that 13 were veterans. In fact, one guy, I call him a young man. He wouldn't say he's young, but he's young to me. He and I were in the 3rd Ranger Battalion at different points in time. So that, that's the kind of experience you have. We had somebody from the agricultural industry and so on and so forth. But in our program right now, this executive program, the level of experience, the average is 17 years in whatever profession they're in. So you can see we're not dealing with people that ain't been nowhere, ain't done nothing. We're talking very experienced people, just like Scott and Bill, who graduated 3 years ago, I believe.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that provides some more credibility to this particular report. I mean, you're talking about experienced professionals who have been in this space for a while,
right.
Going out and doing some research, leveraging their experience, their wisdom, and their knowledge, doing interviews and drawing conclusions. So just for our audience, I mean, this is good research it's not done with folks just fresh out of school. These are experienced professionals.
Well, I tell you, if I was king and I had unlimited resources, if I could take half those people that I just, that were in this study and sprinkle them into my graduate classes here, it would do so much for the younger students, not taking anything away from them. I mean, there are not too many slouches walking around here. They're pretty intelligent people. They're dedicated. They paid a lot of money to be here, and they're hard workers. But if I could take that experience, and sprinkle it among the less experienced, that would really be a great learning experience.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could go with a lot of sports analogies there. I mean, that type of experience mixed in with some younger folks can really help bring up the whole team. Well, that's a good setting about who you are, what the program's about, the type of experience. Let's pivot more towards the actual research. Can you talk about some of the key findings that came from the research? Maybe in your opinion, maybe a quick, top takeaways. I assume everything isn't based around technology, Doctor. I have a feeling it has to do a lot with those policies and political barriers, but what were some of the key takeaways when examining local collaboration and day-to-day incident response?
Well, I don't think anybody would ever accuse me of being a touchy-feely guy, but I got to tell you, culture is a big, big factor. The culture of the organization, the leadership within that organization that obviously affects that culture, that's a huge thing. One of the things that I thought was, I don't know that it surprised me, but maybe it verified something that I had felt before. And that's the fact that a lot of the people that my students talked to, they said they had all the technology they needed. They didn't need more technology or new technology. What they needed was to be better trained on the technology that they had. The whole workforce trained in that technology. And I think too, there was no overriding fix to all of this, because all these different organizations are, at local or county level. It really has to be let's say a regional fix. So if you've got a 3-county area that work pretty closely together, maybe there's a port in that 3-county area. It's important that those 3 counties and the police departments within them and the fire departments and the first responders all conduct multi-jurisdictional training on the technology that they have periodically. That really helps the information sharing and the ability to send assets to where they're needed. That to me was one of the big takeaways from this. We live in a federal setup in the country, and anybody that thinks the federal government's going to come in and save you, it's not going to happen. That's not the way things work. When there's a disaster or a bad thing that happens, who's there first. It's the local first responders. And I mean, this is all right out of the National Incident Management System. You know, the locals are in charge. If they need help, they make a call to the emergency manager, or the mayor, or the county judge here in Texas would make a call to the governor. The governor starts piling on state assets and it builds upon that. But the person that's in charge is still that designated emergency manager or elected official, you know, depending on how the jurisdiction works, she's the one that knows what's going on in the best of all worlds. And everybody else piles on to help do that. So that to me was really pushed forward in this report.
Interesting. So when I read through the report, it was very well done. Read through the interviews with the different folks that were interviewed from call centers or emergency management centers, communication centers that you guys solicited opinions from. You know, it did stick out to me too. Technology isn't everything. A lot of it comes down to vision, people, and culture. And, you know, the technology's there, but sometimes not properly trained, haven't accentuated certain skill sets that are needed to take full advantage of the technology systems in place. I'm going to read to you two things that stuck out to me, bear with me. And I wanted you to maybe riff and talk about these a little bit from your perspective. So one is, one of the things I noticed, and I'm going to read this: agencies and stakeholders should develop solutions-based coalitions that reduce operating costs. Agreements can spur information sharing expansion through financial incentives. Agencies and vendors should also focus on expanding or refining current technology rather than creating entirely new systems. I'll start with that one first, Doc. Any comments on that particular takeaway?
Well, I think I live in Lee County, Texas, little place out in the middle of nowhere. Needless to say that county does not have the assets that, let's say, a Harris County, you know, which Houston sits in, has. So I think it's important for those smaller rural areas to partner with, certainly within their their county, but also the counties around there. Here in the Brazos Valley, we have I think it's 7 counties that are border the Brazos River, and they come together. They have a council of governments that does Homeland Security, you know, but they come together to share information, to conduct training, and so on and so forth. And of course, they have a very good asset right out here to my south, which is the Firemen's Training Center here at A&M. It's not just a firemen's training center; it's also an emergency management facility where they have a world-class emergency operations center. So they can run the emergency operations center. They can have a fire going. They can have this, that, and the other. So for a jurisdiction, or several jurisdictions to come together and just do a tabletop, you know, you might not have the funds or the time to be able to do a full-blown exercise, but just a tabletop, a talk through can be very beneficial to operations and response.
Yeah, and then the other key takeaway that I noticed, or that really stuck out, was this following one: agencies within specific regions should hold real-time, multi-jurisdiction, multi-discipline training that identifies and isolates deficiencies and areas where collaboration would provide some significant value to everybody. So do you have any, I mean, I'm reading that from the report itself. Any comments on that particular takeaway?
Well, again, I think it's the military is trained. They're paid to train and to be prepared to go to war if required. But they're set up that way. They're set up to train. The problem with the first responder group is they don't have that they don't have the funding, and they don't have the time to do that. But why? Because they're always on call. They're always having to be ready to respond. So I really think it's, again, it's important for whenever their leaders can, to carve out that time and coordinate with other jurisdictions so that you can have that time together, so you can work out problems. You can see how your radio set does not link up with theirs, and those kind of things can be worked out. That's one thing here about the Brazos Valley COG. They've really done a great deal of work in that area.
So, I mean, just in addition to that, Doctor, when it comes to getting people to the table, having that discussion, the first responders, it's always about, it's a very what's going on in the here and now type of mindset for obvious reasons. What role can a technology partner, someone who you procure your core operational systems from, I mean, based off your experience or maybe something that was revealed in the research, what role could they play? Is that a value to help have a partner, a technology partner that's more of a partner, less of a vendor, that acts as a catalyst for maybe help driving these conversations? Ultimately,
and believe me, I'm no businessman. I run a little ranch out here, but that's my sideline. But I think to answer what you're getting at, I think a company like Hexagon that could come in and offer to set up to help run some kind of exercise, or again a tabletop, that to me, that would be a big business opportunity. If you could get 3 or 4 counties in an area to show up at the same time, and it's going to benefit them greatly. But Hexagon is liable to get some business out of the deal too. So I think that's probably a pretty good business opportunity.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, just to plug a little Hexagon plug, right? That's something we like to do. We like to approach it as a partnership, and oftentimes we'll have customers in neighboring counties, neighboring jurisdictions that are using, different flavors of our technology, and a good vendor, whether it's us or someone else, should be a catalyst to help encourage data sharing and interoperability.
The national response framework, again, the doctrinal setup for Homeland Security and emergency management, it emphasizes the public and the private sector.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, 87+% of critical infrastructure in the country is owned or operated by the private sector. So private sector is a critical element anytime we start talking about this stuff.
Good point. So I've got 2 more questions for you. One, a serious one, and one's a football question I'm going to ask you at the end, Doctor. So based on your, kind of summarizing the research project up, based on the findings that you and the students who are involved with this capstone project, and I kind of know what you're going to say here, but would you say that information sharing and interoperability are critical to operations? I assume you're saying yes, but I mean, how critical is it? Are we really taking full advantage of it? I mean, is there a lot more to be gained? Are we leaving a lot on the table? Your thoughts?
Well, yes, the answer to your question is yes. The rest of the story is a lot of agencies, and the students found this in talking to some of the various ones, they're concerned about sharing information because they don't necessarily know how that information is where it's going to end up, how it's going to be used. I mean, all you have to do is look watch the news, whether you watch it on the internet or watch it on TV. This kind of leakage of information it's all over the place. So that's one big concern to facilitate information sharing, is how is that information going to be used by who it's shared with. That's always going to be a concern. I think all you can do is through memorandums of agreement and such between these, the organizations sharing the information, and then you base that upon the laws and the policies of the different areas. So information sharing, yes. Some agencies are, particularly, I think, law enforcement, from what we, again, from what the students found, they were sometimes reluctant to share that information. That's just, that's a matter of building trust between the different folks that are working together. I don't know. That's, in the military, we have something called common operating picture.
Yeah.
That to me is critically important also. If we've got an incident, just take Harris County, Texas, big county, has a port, all kind of oil refineries, so on and so forth. If something happens there, it's critical that the police in Missouri City and the police in Houston and the police wherever in that county, the sheriff's department, it's critical that they be able to have the same picture of what's going on. So that's where that common operating picture comes in. And again, that's a big part of information sharing. One other thing, and then I'll shut up. I think the social media, these network-based platforms.
Yes.
Every jurisdiction now has to have the ability to look at, monitor these social networks, because that's where many people, that's how they communicate these days, and that you might be waiting for a report to come across an official conduit of some kind. There might already be an eyewitness report on Facebook. So I think that's one of the key things about common operating picture information sharing is this acknowledgement and use of social media to help in that situational awareness.
Yeah, I agree. That visual collaboration, right? The ability to not, it's to have a picture where everybody has the same view of the situation, maybe with different attributes that they're more interested in than the other party. Yep. But being able to, and then to be able to mine those, people themselves, you with your phone, you're a data point, right? And there's a lot of information being shared. And now you got to sift through some of the noise when you're looking at some of those feeds.
When you're in combat, the first report's always wrong. And of course, police, fire, they're used to that. They understand that concept. Just talking about technology, just the use of a drone to get up above and be able to look down on a fire or whatever it may be, that's a very good use of something new that people are making more and more use of.
Yeah, I've actually seen it. I've seen drones. I've seen tethered drones in the city where they'll just tether these things up. And, the key is being able to link that up and relate it to the other type of real-time operational data that's flowing in and using that to help make better decisions in the field.
Yes.
Well, excellent. Well, Dr. Davis, I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us. We're really thankful. We really enjoyed working with you and the Bush School with this capstone project. We hope to do more collaboration in the future. The report is excellent. I encourage anybody in the audience who's interested in this topic to go look it up, go read it, go check it out. It contains some very good information that applies, like I said, to all different types of government agencies, whether state, local, or federal. Before I leave, I'm from as I told you prior to us going live here, I'm from West Virginia. So I know we have a fellow West Virginian that's coaching the Aggies right now, Mr. Fisher. Are we going to turn it around this year, Dr. Davis? What's the prognosis for the Aggies this fall?
I learned this 25 years ago when I was a cadet over here at the quad. We Aggies have never been beat. We get outscored every now and then, but we've never been beat. I think Jimbo's going to turn it around.
There we go. I like it. I hope he does. I always like to see a good Mountaineer do good. The 12th man's always rocking. That's a place I want to hit on my bucket list. Dr. Davis, thank you for the great conversation today. And again, thanks to the Bush School and the folks who participated in this study. And for all those listening out there, thanks for joining this conversation today. And we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, sir.